President Muhammadu Buhari writes the Senate and seeks approval for $800 million loan from the World Bank. Federal Executive Council approves new 2023 auto policy. BVN issued in Nigeria have no expiry date, says the Central Bank of Nigeria. Plus oil prices climb on positive U.S. fuel demand data. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leah Katung Baba Tunde. You're welcome. Until May 29, work continues for President Muhammadu Buhari as he writes the Senate seeking approval for an $800 million loan facility from the World Bank. The fund is to scale up the National Social Safety Net program. And National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko reports that the Senate has approved the reimbursement of 9.6 billion naira to Plateau and Borno states for the federal roads projects executed by them.
Those against any that
Plenary took off with President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan reading executive communication from President Muhammadu Buhari requesting that the Senate approves a loan of $800 million United States dollars for the National Social Safety Net program.
The NASSP, being a social intervention program, will stimulate activities in the informal sector, improve nutrition, health, education, and human capital development of beneficiary households.
Senate confirmed the appointment of 6 nominees as federal commissioners for the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission and Abdul Abubakar as non-executive director of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Senate passed the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act Amendment Bill, while the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission Act Amendment Bill, sponsored by Senator Sadiq Umar, passed second reading. Senate approved the 2017-2018 report of its Committee on Public Accounts on the annual reports of the Auditor General for the Federation and urged the executive to implement the recommendations as part of measures to strengthen the fight against corruption. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo.
Still on Assembly matters, the Nigerian Immigration Service has attributed the scarcity of international passport booklets to challenges in accessing foreign exchange to import the booklets. The Controller General of the service, Idris Jire, also told the House of Representatives ad hoc committee conducting an investigation that major components for passport production are sold in international market, while assemblage and production takes place in Malaysia. Lamiali reports.
For quite some time, scarcity of international passport booklets in Nigeria and its foreign missions has been a source of concern to Nigerians. This prompted a presidential directive that the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company should commence local production of the passports. The directive is the subject of this investigative hearing as the House demands information on the proposed domestication and processing of international passports.
We realize money in foreign exchange goes to CBN Direct. We go for it, they say no, go and get money elsewhere, buy booklet and do. You can't do magic.
Are you sure the Nigerian Security and Printing Company have the capacity and the ability to operate this whole process?
There's a complaint that print has no capacity. Let's tell them it's a project directive.
This is a security document. And there is no, we cannot even say one aspect of it is going to be open or is going to be confidential.
The foreign company handling the production told the committee that it has been doing its utmost best to fulfill the contractual agreements despite some challenges. The company said it delivered 1.9 million booklets last year and 800,000 in the first 4 months of 2023.
There's no country where their mint, where the security, the government security prints passport. And this is no very, very few countries. Why? Because e-passport is not a security printing matter.
From the National Assembly.
Okay, thank you, Lami. Now we'll move into the business of the day. As a key component of the economy, electricity is a major source of advancement and improvement in people's living standards by stimulating other sectors like health, education, commerce, and industries. But despite tremendous progress in expanding access to power, boosting renewable energy use in the electricity sector, and improving energy efficiency over the last decade, Nigeria, like the rest of the world, still falls short of delivering affordable, dependable, sustainable, and modern energy to all. Several small and medium-scale companies had to fold up due to the inability to cope with economic challenges brought by an inadequate power supply. On Business Express this morning, our focus is on electricity and economic development in Nigeria. Uket Obonga is our guest, and he is the National Secretary Network of Electricity Consumers Advocacy of Nigeria and Lead Director, Energy Consumer Consultancy Services. You're welcome to Business Express, Mr. Uket.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. Perhaps we start by looking at the issues in his report on the impact of regular power cuts last year. The World Bank estimated that the power shortage in Nigeria is around $28 billion, equivalent to 2% of the nation's GDP. We're seeing a lot of outages till this moment. How did we get here?
Well, the challenges are there because there is no deliberate effort to mitigate these challenges. It is not about money, as it were, the billions that are often bandied. The privatization exercise has not delivered. It has not delivered because from 2010 to December 2022, the annual growth in the sector has been 1.1% as against the 3% population growth. Nigeria still wears the unenviable rank or rating of a country that has the highest number of people who have no access to electricity globally.
Well,
with 90 million or 45% of the population of Nigeria.
how do we relate with these numbers?
What that means is that between 85 to 90 million Nigerians don't have access to electricity out of the 220 million population.
If I can get you, sorry, let me pause you there, if I can have an understanding. The 90 million we're talking about, is it the UPNEPA that comes and goes, or
They
those
are
that
not
don't have
connected
at all?
to the grid. They have not had electricity supply in their locations. They are not. This, I'm quoting the report of the World Bank, and I have it here. China, Nigeria is about 220 million. China is 68 million, don't have access. India, 64 million. DRC, 61 million, and the rest of them. But globally, Nigeria tops the list with about 90 million people who don't have access to electricity, in spite of all the billions they are banding. I repeat, 90 million Nigerians don't have access to electricity.
Well, we've heard from...
And it has the lowest per capita, what we call per capita KW, that is kilowatt hours consumption, energy consumption per capita to GDP. We are the least, lower than Equatorial Guinea, lower than Togo, lower than Ghana, lower than in Africa, as we speak. And this information is there for verification. I am not the one generated it. It's not coming from me. I put a disclaimer. Go to the World Bank report. Right. Then we are talking of the economic implications of all these things. We lose close to 7 to 8 trillion. That's the economic loss as a result, as a nation. As a result of this. So it's so very unfortunate. It's so very, very unfortunate.
So a lot of we will be wondering, if we say we lose about 7 trillion as a result, people will be asking how?
Well, you have a huge market like Nigeria with over 200 million people. Huge market. Anywhere in the world. Nigeria is a huge market. But because of failure, which I always say is human factor. Human factor in the sense that we have refused to do the needful. Take, for instance, the power sector reform project or program of the federal government that identified 3-4 areas as being the bane behind what is going on here. Operational efficiency, policy and regulatory environment, not conducive. The policy and regulatory environment is even adding to the problems we have. Then we have sustainable fiscal support and lack of investment. The fourth one is lack of investment on infrastructure to enhance power delivery to end-use consumers. These are the things that are creating the problems we have. Like I said, they are man-made. It means if there is a political will in terms of those in the governance space, the policymakers, the regulators, and so forth. We are talking of government here. One, putting round pegs in round holes, picking Nigerians that are knowledgeable, who have the capacity, who have the competence to do it. Not electricity should be divorced from politics. You are appointing anybody in the sector, it must be people that are appointed based on merit, competence, capacity to deliver.
Okay. I want to digress a bit. Just last night we heard from the EFCC that a former minister was arrested by them, and they're investigating for about 22 billion naira missing funds and have made some recoveries. And one would wonder, in this sector, don't we have checks and balance?
Well, the checks and balances, there is no way. Nigeria is a country blessed with powerful brains. When it comes to designing programs, when it comes to documentations, when it comes to drafting policies, we are perfect, 100% perfect. We can do it. But the problem is implementation. If a former minister should be accused and arrested for a 20 or 22 billion, then you can see the rot in the system. What of the Rural Electrification Agency, where the fellow there is accused of corruption, running into billions, tens of billions. Corruption is a factor. Because when there was a time, TCN, we were told, were importing some transmission transformers. And they went to wherever they went to and got substandard transformers at the same rate.
In the market rate.
At the market rate. And they started blowing up. I remember that of Ejigbo in Lagos. So these are the issues. If a former minister, the immediate past minister of power, before Engineer Liu came in, could be so accused, then go into the ministry, go in there, carry out a forensic investigation and audit of what the 22 billion is, will be a tip in the iceberg.
Oh, wow. So we've also, I want to take you to the issues of licensing for GenCos. The NERC says they had issued 11, the most recent takes. And are we seeing this as a step in the right direction, considering the fact that we're trying to demystify the power sector to see that other sources of power come upstream?
Well, that statement came from Garba Sanusi, the chairman of NEC, sometimes, I think in February last year, when he said NEC registered additional 11 generation companies. But he has, till today, even before I came in, I had to cross-check that information. I Googled NEC website to find out the names.
There's an update.
They are not there. We don't know who he registered. The names of the new GenCos, we don't know. NEC has not published. It is not there. If they are putting it there now as I'm standing here, but before I came in, even as I was sitting out there, I still had to check. The names are not there. He only told Nigerians February last year that they have registered or given licenses to 11 new generation companies to generate electricity. Who are the companies? What are the names of these companies? This is where we are.
Okay, before I let you go, please, if you can answer me in 1 minute. Yeah. How do we ensure that our data for power consumption is up to standard, considering the fact that states had to be disconnected recently and there's a backlog of debts, and people have also had to accuse the power companies of excessive estimated billing where there's no light?
Well, that is the issue now. See, there is no data. To answer you directly, there is no accurate data. We have a situation where the governing body or the regulator does not have an independent source or means of generating data in the sector. Rather, they are dependent on the operators, the DISCOs, the GenCos, to generate their own data and give to them. This is the problem. Now, we are talking of high estimated bills, but you remember that there is a regulation on capping estimation of bills. The question is, are the DISCOs following it, implementing it? And if they are not implementing this regulation that they put in place, the regulator put in place, if they don't have the capacity to monitor, place sanctions where necessary, where there are breaches, and enforce compliance, so the DISCOs will be left to themselves to do as they please.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Ovonga, for coming on the program and for giving us this insight. And surely we're going to bring you back to give us more details on how to tame this crisis that is taking much longer to unravel. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And so we still remain rather with the energy sector, where oil prices bounced back this Thursday after dropping by more than $1 a barrel the previous day, supported by stronger fuel demand data from the United States of America, which is the world's top oil consumer. Brent crude futures rose by 56 cents to $76.97 a barrel in early deals, while U.S. crude futures rose 53 cents to $73.09. A sharper than expected drop in U.S. gasoline inventories boosted prices, reflecting stronger demand for transport fuels in the U.S. Now, similarly, gold prices ticked up on a softer dollar in early Asian hours this Thursday, while investors awaited further clarity on the U.S. Federal Reserve's monetary policy path. Let's now see how much other commodities are trading this Thursday. Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has been reacting to some viral information and says BVN, that's a biometric verification number that is issued by the bank in this country, has no expiry date. The bank made the clarification in reaction to reports suggesting that the bank verification number issued by it in collaboration with the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System (NIPS) expires after a 10-year period. A statement signed by Isa Abdulmomin, the acting director, corporate communications of the CBN, on Wednesday noted that contrary to claims, the BVN issued in Nigeria has no expiry date, emphasizing that once a customer's biometrics have been captured and enrolled in the database of NIPS, the BVN remains for life. However, the regulatory framework for BVN issued by the CBN in 2021 stipulates that customers can only change their records due to certain conditions spelled out in the document and after being cleared by relevant authorities. And we'll move to the capital market, where the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) said the capital market, which is considered the catalyst for economic growth, must be sustained by an effective and efficient dispute resolution mechanism by adjudicators who are subject matter experts to engender investors' confidence. The Director General Lamido Yuguda of the SEC stated this during a one-day workshop organized by the Investment and Securities Tribunal in collaboration with the Nigerian Bar Association. He said the workshop is important for legal practitioners who appear before the IST on behalf of their clients and lawyers who generally practice in the capital market. And we remain with the market, where after a two-day rally, Nigerian equities market recorded its first decline for the week by a margin of 0.75% as investors lose 215 billion in mid-week trading session. So this morning, a total of 554.3 million shares is the opening figure of trades, and 5,168 deals, corresponding to a market value of 5.9 billion compared with Tuesday's trading. The data further showed 14% decline in volumes, 16% decline in turnover, and 9% declines in deals. The market capitalization resumed this morning at 28.4 trillion naira. And we move to the global scene, where Asian stocks rise as U.S. inflation cools. On Thursday, is our guide.
European markets opened higher this Thursday as international investors continued to digest the latest U.S. inflation figures and brace for a UK interest rate decision. Asia markets traded mixed after Wall Street saw a tech rally as U.S. consumer price index rose less than expected for April. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite fell 0.35% and the Shenzhen Composite advanced marginally. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index shed 0.84%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 traded up marginally and ended the day at 29,126.72. US stock futures were all higher on Thursday morning after Disney posted its latest quarterly results and investors look towards Thursday's producer price index report. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures climbed 44 points or 0.14%. S&P 500 futures rose 0.26% and the Nasdaq 100 futures ticked up 0.21%. It's a positive open for most African markets, with South Africa JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index posting gains. Boss Sede Able, Business Express.
It is on that note that we wrap this edition of Business Express. Remember to send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Friday at 3 p.m. My name is Leah Katun Babatunde, telling you have a beautiful day ahead and God bless Nigeria.